Hello! You might be wondering just what does a post and beam makeover entail? You might be wondering, does it change the building process? Do you need a special builder? What kind of costs are involved? Will you be able to find something that fits your style? And many more questions. This should answer a lot of questions that might be rolling around in your head, because I'm going to give you 3 examples of the post and beam makeover process. One is extremely expedited. The other is very well thought through over time. And then the third example is something in between. And before we start, I would like to give you a short definition of what a timber makeover is, a post and beam makeover. So, boiled down to its essence, what that means is that it is the process to incorporate exposed beams into your surroundings. And that can start from an idea in your head. It can start, like it does many times, with a blueprint. And many other times we're starting with coming out to an existing home, a structure, and brainstorming from there. What can be done to give that just right amount of timber to really incorporate what it is the owner wants to feel when they're kicking back, when they're entertaining, when they're just living. Okay, so before we move to the next photo, I want to set the stage. Now, this is the expedited process. This is the expedited post and beam timber makeover. And I got a call, this was 7 years ago. I got a call from a president of a company I'd done some work for. And they were taking some of the facility where their factory was, where their business was, and they were converting that to a resource for community businesses that could use some subsidized rent, office rent. And there was like teen pregnancy, for abuse outreach groups, things like this. We're going to be able to use this. It's a great idea because they had the space there, and it really was a sound idea. And I got a call, it was in the afternoon on a Wednesday or Thursday, and Bobby asked me, "Hey Bert, would you like to do a circular timber stairway?" And of course, what am I going to answer? I started to salivate. I mean, it was, of course, yeah, when do I start? He said, well, it has to be done extremely quick. There were 2 metal contractors that, for one reason or another, failed to pull through. And so what I was going to be dealing with was a 25-foot wide, 25-foot deep, by a 25-foot high concrete box. It had the storefront windows and a lot of glass. And so that's what we were dealing with to start out with. And so that night, I went home. I knew that they needed this done quick. So I started sketching out kind of some ideas, and I realized that the canvas was just too broad. The parameters were too wide. I needed a little bit of input to help me decide how big to make the spindles and newel posts, what kind of construction might fit best for the decor thereafter. And so I got a hold of the lady who was in charge of the decor. And in the conversation, there was never any real concrete answers to colors, but she had a picture of what she wanted, just couldn't really express it so well. One of the things that was a refrain, one of the phrases, was she just wanted you to feel like you came home. Like you came home. And that was very fitting for the purpose of the lobby with the subsidized office space for these outreach groups. And so we ended the phone call, and it wasn't but 5 minutes after this brainstorm just pow, wham, it hit. And here's what it looked like. This is the sketch I did that night and showed the next morning. So there was going to be a circular stairway that wound up and came up on the back side of this, where this top ceiling is. And as you can see, that would use up quite a bit of space. And so the idea then was, it flashed through my head, was a stairway that meandered up through a sitting area. And with myself, I have 5 children, so home to me means toys kind of strewn about. And like a sitting area where people could wait, entertain kids. And it did turn into having a coffee bar, and really, really a unique space. If you're ever in Vancouver and want a cup of coffee, head over there, put it on my tab, and I'll spring for a cup of coffee for you. And you get to see what this is a modern timber structure. It's got I'll get to that in a bit. So here was the idea that sprang into my head. I didn't know if they would go for it, if they would even like it. Many times it isn't what the client has in mind. In this case, we met the next morning. We met the next morning at about 6 o'clock. He was leaving to Africa the next day, or that day, excuse me. And he looked at it. I kind of explained what it was, and he wondered, he says, yeah, it's an out-of-the-box idea, but it might work out. And he questioned me pretty hard on, will the room work for a stairway? You have to, and it was actually very tight. It was, the top had just the amount of clearance, the width you needed, and the bottom where the door was. And I was able to adjust the height of this second landing to make the stairway work. And I had done the math the night before, so I was pretty confident. I said, I think we can make it work. And he called later that day before he took off and gave me the green light. And so it was off with a flash. And here's the 3D model we built up. And this is kind of a cutaway. 2 walls have been removed so that you can see just everything that's there. To try to capture what's here in a picture is very tough. You have to get a fisheye lens, and things are distorted, and it's tough to capture that fill. So here you've got a good idea of what's happening. Right here is the main door. You come in, you can go around to an elevator, or go up the stairs, or buy coffee from here. Go up the stairs and meander through the chairs up here, kind of a sitting area, and then the lobby or the receptionist desk is upstairs. And here is the finished product, some pictures. The coffee bar, the sitting area up above, and the toy area got moved below the stairway. And you can see the little trellis up here to continue that warm, homey feel. And the cable railing, the black powder-coated grab bars. It's a real neat mix of the modern mix that fits well with the concrete tilt-up building where it's at, and the storefront glass, and so forth. So that's it for the expedited, super expedited version. This whole process was about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and we had the timbers they were installed.